Restrictions on the use of crop protection products, such as setbacks for waterways, maximum application rates, and limitations on application times based on wind speed. Now, the farmers in this tent understand the label is the law. What are your views on further state restrictions on the use of crop protection products that apply only to Minnesota farmers?
One of the things that folks often forget when they live in the Twin Cities is that agriculture is our #1 business in Minnesota. Agriculture is the #1 way that we hold the state together. And as someone who is from Worthington, who's got lots of family that farms, I know that our farmers understand that they have to follow the law and that they have to be careful about their land. No farmer wants to see the lakeshore that they're near, the rivers that they're near, the wetlands that they're near become polluted, because ultimately that's a problem for them. And I appreciate how the Farm Bureau and Farmers Union and other organizations have worked hard to do that. And therefore, I see no need whatsoever to put additional state-only restrictions. That puts Minnesota farmers at a competitive disadvantage, and that's not a place that we can afford to be. We need a state that recognizes that if we're going to be successful, we have to do a better job of making sure that we get more value out of agriculture. And that's why I favor making sure that our farmers get the help that they need, not only with no additional restrictions, but we need to help extension. Extension used to be a great help, but of course we've seen that pared back. And we need to make sure we have other efforts to make sure we got value-added agriculture there to help out as well.
Rob Hahn.
Remember what I said just a while ago, that sometimes less is more? I'll be real brief here. I would oppose any further restrictions. I think what we have in place is serving its purpose right now.
Mark Dake.
Report just the other day that Minnesota's corn and soybean crops are the best in the country. That's the goal we want for Minnesota agriculture. We want the best production, the best quality, and anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world. And we have the best farmers in this world, so we know we'll get that if we allow you to farm as the wise stewards of your land that you are. And I understand that from my family background. From my grandfather, my father, my great-grandfather, stewardship of the land is integral to the consciousness of the men and women who are our farmers. So I would oppose any additional state restrictions that would harm that competitiveness, that would take away your abilities to be the best producers in the world, and to have the maximum production so you can maximize your income, which is, anybody on Main Street, Minnesota knows that the health of Minnesota's economy depends on the health of our agricultural economy.
Margaret Anderson Gallagher.
My farm roots are deep. You've heard a little bit about that, but they're still growing in Minnesota. My family is still farming in this state. In fact, right over near Wabasso, my niece and her husband and their young daughter, Mallory, they are farming today. And, you know, when I think about that, I know that they know this point, that the label is the law, and they want to protect air, land, and water. Farmers are the original conservationists in this state. I learned those lessons from my dad growing up along the Minnesota River Valley, right along the river, how important it is to take care of the land, air, and water. And you know, farmers are best at that. I think that we need to work together, more cooperative models of doing this. The idea that we work together and have incentives to make sure that we are working together to protect land, air, and water is important to me. I would not support further restrictions on application. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that you can have successful production agriculture in the state so you can support your family.
Tom Horner.
Well, the label is the law, but in a Horner administration, common sense will be the guidepost. We need to move away from the kinds of regulatory stretches that punish people into a process in which we can work together to accomplish the goal, accomplish it more effectively by letting farmers farm. And so a good example, in areas where a water treatment facility may have to expand to manage the increased capacity, why don't we work with farmers to allow them to plant grasses upstream along drainage ditches, where we can filter the water, where we can do some common sense kinds of solutions, and then allow the farmers to harvest those grasses for biofuel, for feed. It's those kinds of solutions that make sense. We need to figure out how we accomplish these goals, how we protect our natural heritage, but how we do it in a way that makes sense for everyone.
Tom Emmer.
You know, Kevin, when I hear you say the label is the law, I mean, I live in Delano, Minnesota. Jackie and I and our 7 kids. I don't know when the last time any one of these guys actually baled hay. I did it last fall. I'm not very good at it either, by the way. My daughter was in 4-H, so we're living it. And the one thing that I know from where we live, farmers are the best environmentalists going. And we keep talking about cooperative partnerships and working together and doing what's best for everybody else, but that just means that people in government that have no concept of what happens on the farm are telling farmers what they're going to have to do to regulate their land. You don't need more restrictions, you need more freedom. You've got to allow farmers to use government as the resource it was intended to be so that they can make the most out of their 401k, because that is not only their livelihood, and they will take the best care of it, but it is their future and their family's future.